good morning to all. Subject name is Business Law, and we are going to start with the introduction of Indian Contract Act 1872. So in this Indian Contract Act 1872, there are two types of contract. One is general contract and the other one is special contract. And what is the meaning for contract means the contract term drawn together or drawing together of two or more minds to form a common intention to give rise to an agreement. Which means a contract means two or more parties where they are entered with an agreement. And as per section 2H of 1872, each and every contract should be enforceable by law. The formula for contract is offer plus acceptance equal to agreement, and it should be enforceable by law. All contracts are agreements and all agreements are not contract. The reason is all agreements are not contract means there are various types of agreement is there. Social agreement and domestic agreement. Domestic agreement means a father who has been promised to pay every month some amount of money to his son. Later father fails to pay the stipend to his son. He cannot go to the court to file a case against the father, which means the agreement which has been happened between the father and son comes under domestic invitation or domestic agreement. Social agreement is there. For example, I am the person, I am calling you people to have a lunch at my home, and everyone is coming to my home, but unfortunately I was not yet there. I have closed my house and went somewhere else, and at any cost, whatever the expenses which was paid by you, you cannot be able to file the case against me. The reason is the agreement which was raised between the parties of the faculty, and as such I have called you to have a lunch at my home, which comes under what type of invitation means social invitation. So that's the reason all contracts are agreements and all agreements are not contract. And the next one is promise. As per section 2B of Indian Contract Act 1872, promise, a proposal when accepted becomes a promise. For example, I am the person, I have given the offer, and once the person when I have been accepting the offer, the person who giving the offer is called as offerer, the another person who accepting the offer is called as offeree. So both the parties accepted and entered into the agreement is called entered into the agreement. Then and this agreement should be enforceable by law is called as contract. So the summary of contract, offer or proposal when accepted becomes a promise. So once, even if I given any offer, the other person should accept it for it. Once he has given the acceptance, then it may comes under promise. And after giving the acceptance, the forming certain consideration for each other. Consideration means something in return. Like you have to pay some amount of price for each and every goods. Then only the contract may come into force. So next one is the consideration, which is most important between the parties, something in return. And the third one is the agreement between the parties, both offer and well as acceptance given by both the parties should be enforceable by law. For example, I am giving the offer, my house is there, that I want to give it for rental purpose. You people also accepting for it and enter into the agreement. And this agreement which we both entered for doing this smuggling business at my home. So here offer is there, acceptance given by the other party, but for what purpose we are doing we have entered in an agreement which comes under smuggling business. Later, if you fail to pay the rent to the house owner, do you think that whether you can go to the court? Means you cannot go to the court. The reason is here we have entered the agreement which doesn't come under legal, which comes under illegal. So it won't come under enforceable by law. It will comes under unenforceable by law. So the contract, the basic thing is offer, acceptance, and agreement, and it should be enforceable by law. And promise, consideration, agreement. Legally enforceable means contract or voidable contract. Legally unenforceable means which comes under void agreement. There are various classification of contract if we get to discuss with the help of examples. So these are the essential element of contract. So once the person want to enter into the contract, two things are most important. One is offer and another one is acceptance. The offer and acceptance can be called as proposal or promise. Second one is legal relationship. So where both the parties entered into the contract, there should be a legal relationship which is most important. The case law, the Balfour versus Balfour, where both the parties, this case law which talks about between the relationship between husband and wife, where before the husband promised to pay some amount of money, but later they get divorced, the same amount of money, she went to court and filed the case to get such amount of money after gets divorced. But here the legal relationship which is most important between the parties. So where they have made the promise before getting divorced, which cannot be acceptable to go to the court. The reason is at that time the relationship between them is husband and wife. And the third one is consensus and item, means consent at the same time meeting of the minds. So both the parties, even I would like to sell my scooter or you may have to have an idea to buy my scooter, both the parties should have the intention in buying the goods with the free consent, and both the parties should have the same mind of the subject matter in buying the goods. Lawful consideration, something in return for something, and free and genuine consent. Free and genuine consent means there are 5 important headings which may come under free and genuine consent. There will not be any coercion. Coercion means threatening. So you don't have any right to force the other person in buying the goods or selling the goods. So called as coercion. Coercion means threatening or forcing. Undue influence means gaining the advantage of the other party. So this undue influence might be happen the relationship between advocate and client and police person and accused. For example, a person who is having the worth of property 1 lakh, and let the police officer saying to him that if you are going to give your property at 50,000, I will release you as soon as possible. So here the 1 lakh property, let you want to get it at the lowest cost of 50,000, gaining the advantage from the other party is called as undue influence. And the third one is the fraud, and fourth one is misrepresentation. Fraud means intention is there in cheating the other person is called as fraud. Already I know very well there is a defect which has been happening in my goods, but I know very well, but same thing same goods let I want to sell it to the other party with the intention in cheating the other party, which can be called as fraud. And fourth one is misrepresentation. Misrepresentation means without knowing. I thought that let these goods I want to sell it to you, but unfortunately I may not know about it whether there is a defect in the goods. But once the goods which has been transferred to the other party, there is a defect which was happened. This may comes under misrepresentation. Without knowingly the incident has been happened, called as misrepresentation. And the last one is mistake. Mistake means various kinds of mistakes which we need to discuss, but first one is unilateral mistake, another one is bilateral mistake, where one party will not get performed comes under unilateral. Both the parties knowingly where they have been involved in doing the mistake called as bilateral mistake. So these are all the 5 important points which we need to discuss under the chapter of free and genuine consent. Capacity or competency of the parties. Capacity means having 3 important things. A party when want to enter into contract, he should be a major. You don't have right to enter into contract with the party who comes under minor. So he should be attain the age of majority. And the second one is he should not disqualified by any law. You should not. And the third one is unsound mind or insolvent person. So here a person who doesn't come under unsound mind or insolvent, and not the next one is that is not disqualified by any law. Means, for example, a person who already imprisoned for the reason of involving in fraud, and with the same person, if you are going to enter into the transaction, that may not be acceptable. So that's the reason before when you want to enter into the transaction with any party, let you have to know whether the party which has been comes under qualified or not yet qualified to enter into the contract. And the next one is lawful object. So where they are going to enter into the contract, we need to see that the offeror as well as the acceptor, both the parties should be qualified and for the enter into the contract, and also it should be enforceable by law. And the next one is agreement not expressly declared to be void. There are various agreements are there which comes under the void agreements, which we are going to discuss later. Certainty and possibility is there, and the legal formalities, the certainty and the possibility means possibility of performance, which is most important. And the last one is the legalities and formalities, means all the agreements need to be registered agreements, that which comes under legal formalities. So these are the classification of contract. Validity contract means valid contract, void contract, voidable contract, illegal agreement, and unenforceable contract. So here the void contract means both the parties entered in the contract where I would like to sell my bike and you people also accepted to buy my bike. So here the offeror is giving the offer, another party also has given the acceptance with the free consent and agreement where they have been entered between the parties, which has been enforceable by law, which means it's a legal agreement, can be called as valid contract. Void agreement means void agreement if there is any business, again both the parties entered with an agreement and for doing any smuggling business, then it may come under void agreement. The reason is for this particular reason you cannot go to the court, which cannot be enforceable by law, which can come under unenforceable by law. So that's the reason here. The second one is void agreement. And the next one is the voidable contract. Voidable contract means where the person who have been forcing the other person, as such which we have discussed, the coercion, undue influence, and the fraud and misrepresentation, which comes under the voidable contract. And if you are going to force any person to enter into the contract, he may be acceptable at the initial stage, may be void, but same time valid, maybe same valid contract, maybe later the same agreed party can go to the court and file the case by saying that the party who forced or one party who are involved in the fraud, a party who have gained the advantage from the other party. So for all these reasons, let he can go to the court. At that time, the same valid contract can be turned into voidable contract. So when the voidable contract, which may be come into force, means where there is any fraud, misrepresentation or coercion or undue influence, for all these reasons, initially party can accept, but later same party, the contract, valid contract can be converted into voidable contract. Formation for illegal agreement and unenforceable contract means any example as such I given any illegal agreement, even if you entered, you cannot go with enforceable by law. Formation contract, express contract and implied contract. Express means oral words or written, which can be called as express contract. Implied contract means very simple. A person want to get into the bus, immediately the conductor will come and ask you that you have to buy the ticket. So there is no other way. Any person want to do the performance, that you have to buy the ticket. This buying the ticket can be called as implied contract. There is no contract between the parties, but unfortunately, for example, if you are going to get into any hotel, even once if you step into the hotel itself, the server may come to you and he will ask what order that you want to give. So there is no other way that you have to give the order. So by code of conduct, by action of one party, another party reacting can be called as implied contract. And the third one is quasi-contract. Quasi-contract means a person shall not enrich himself at the expense of the other party. So for example, I have given some amount of goods to you to take care, but unfortunately you have used the goods. There is no contract. Quasi-contract is not a contract at all, but any person who have been gaining the advantage, taking the goods and using for their own purpose. Later a party one coming and asking that at any cost he should return the goods, he should compensate for that. Instead of that he is saying that let I am not liable for the goods, can be called as quasi-contract. Quasi-contract means a person shall not enrich himself, any person not to get any benefit from the expense of other parties, called as quasi-contract. Next one is executed and executory contract, where both the parties where they have performed their obligations as per the agreement is called as executed. Where for example one party agreed to paint this room, another party also entered into the contract, and one party has given the order, another party entered into the contract to paint this room. Both the parties they have performed as per the agreement is called as executed contract. But executed means which is totally different, which is under performance. Even I have not yet given the order, you have not yet started the work. I have not yet paid the money, you have not yet started the work. It's called as executory. Both the parties where they comes under the performance of fulfill their obligation as per the agreement is called as executory contract. And unilateral contract means one party who have been performed, the other party who have not yet performed the duty. The party who not yet performed the duty is called as unilateral contract. As per the agreement, where I have paid this room, but you have not yet paid the price, which can be called as unilateral contract. Bilateral contract means both the parties where they have not yet fulfilled their obligation as per the agreement, and they have not yet started any part of the proceedings of the obligations as per the agreement, it can be called as bilateral contract. So these are the sections which I given. Valid contract, section 10, void agreement, and another one is a minor. If you are going to enter with a contract with the minor which is totally void, and for a few reasons alone, even if you entered with the contract which maybe comes under the valid, that can be called as necessary services, which we are going to discuss. For example, if a minor who have been entered with the contract want to go for tuition with the tuition master, and after once he has finished the subject, he is saying that the minor is saying that I am the minor, as per Indian Contract Act, the minor may not comes under liable. But as such, here they have fixed this separate definition for that, and for all the necessary services, that the minor will comes under liable. So even once as per the obligation, if it has been satisfied, if he has finished the subject, immediately the minor need to pay the tuition fees to the faculty. And there is a relationship between the minor and doctor also. For example, here we are discussing about the minor may not be liable for any services, but again necessary services, a minor want to meet with an accident or for any reason, for any cause where he is going under treatment with the doctor, means once the treatment has gets over, then he should pay the fees. He doesn't have right to say that as per the contract act I may not be liable. That's the reason here they have fixed the term necessary liable for each and every services, which means for the doctor services, medical services, and educational services, and even for legal services. Minor where he involved in one crime and going and approaching the advocate to rescue him from such fact, and once he has got the bail for that minor, later he is saying that I am the minor, I am not be liable for services in paying the fees, means no advocate or no doctor or no faculty, they won't come forward to teach or to save the person or to do the treatment for the minors. So that's the reason these services, which is most important as per the contract act, says that necessary services means these three services which is must at any cost, a minor cannot escape from the liability. And the voidable contract as such, which we have discussed about at the option of one party. Voidable means coercion, I told. So where there is coercion, fraud, misrepresentation and undue influence, option of one party may be accepted. If he has been accepted, maybe the valid, but same thing, same valid contract maybe can be termed as a voidable contract. Basic public policy. So all the agreements should not be opposed to public policy. So any agreement, if you are going to involved with the illegal intention or illegal agreement, it seems to be that which has been totally opposed to public policy. Unenforceable contract as such, which you have discussed with the unregistered document or unpaid stamp duties and all, which can be comes under unenforceable contract. Or as per the legal formalities, all the documents should be written document and to be attested and to be registered. While doing the registration, as per Indian Stamp Act 1899, each and every document need to pay the stamp duty. After paying the stamp duty, then they will register. This is the process, but this process which is most important, even if you doesn't pay the stamp duty, even if you not registered properly, in such a case it seems to be that which comes under unenforceable contract. Now the first one is offer. So here one party one should give the offer. There are various legal rules of valid offer. The first one is, which you have discussed already, if any person want to create the offer, what type of relationship means legal relationship, which is most important between the parties, and the offer should be certain. Offer should be certain means the subject matter should be known to the other party. For example, I am having the car, so I may have the 3 cars. But that I want to sell, but I need to tell that I am going to sell A car or B car or C car to the concerned party. If I doesn't mention A, B or C having the 3 cars, means other party may think that want to buy this C car, but I am having an intention that I need to sell the B car. So here the certainty of term which has been missed out. So that's the reason what subject matter and what type of commodity, let you have to clearly explain that, which can be called as certainty of terms, which is most important. Intention is not an offer. Every person may have an intention, but the intention cannot be called as offer. The same intention where when you are going to draft with the help of the agreement, ask the person to put the signature in the agreement, then only it can be called as offer. And intention means I may have an idea, but I need to tell, maybe oral or spoken or written words, that which you have discussed already with the help of express contract. Invitation to offer or invitation to treat is not an offer. Everyone can give the advertisement in the newspaper. By giving the advertisement in the newspaper, you people can come and purchase the goods. But this invitation, which is not an offer. So here there are various types of offer is there, that we are going to discuss later. So invitation to offer or invitation to treat is not an offer. So offer must be communicated to the offeree. For example, I am the person, I should communicate to the offeree to the respective person. So for example, X is there, X wants to tell something, X dog is missed, and let you want to chase the dog. For that purpose, he is saying in the public, whoever is going to bring the dog again, I am going to give some amount of money. So unfortunately, the person want to have given the offer at that time, B was not there in the meeting, but unfortunately before the amount of compensation you want to declare, the B already he started to move from that place to search for the dog. But later he traced the dog and he wants to hand over to the person. After once he has hand over to the person, now the B asking the compensation, but the offer must be communicated to offeree. Means when the A wants to communicate to the offeree, B was not yet there. In such a case, A need not to give any compensation to the offeree. And the next one is obtaining the assent of the offeree. Statement of price is not an offer. Statement of price means if you have been observed in many places in shopping complex, if you want to buy the dress, the price tag will be there. So with this price tag, you don't think that they are giving the offer. It's just an invitation asking, calling the public to step inside into the shop. So that's the reason here they have given that any price tag which doesn't called as offer. Offer must have the intention to act as per the terms of the offer. For example, I am going to give the offer within 10 days that you have to buy this particular goods. If after 10 days if you are going to come, I am not going to sell it. So the 10 days as per the terms and conditions, how much amount of cost, what about the quantity, what color it is, and each and everything to be mentioned in the agreement as per the terms and conditions of the agreement which was given by the offeror. Same way acceptance to be obliged for it, and you should follow the same terms and conditions. If any one of the party would have been going beyond the conditions, in such a case the contract will be cancelled, which we are going to discuss later with the help of breach of contract. So here the communication is complete. When the communication which will be complete means, for example, A person would have been sending the letter to B, and once the B received the letter, the communication which will be completed, it seems to be that the B which has been accepted for the offer. So always the communication, for example, I am giving the communication through by post, and the other party also should give the communication through by post. If I am giving the communication by mail, other person also should give the communication by mail. So like that, both the parties should use the same mode of communication. There will not be any difference in sending the one communication by me and getting the reply from the other communication. It may not be acceptable. So the next one is when the communication can a offer may revoke an offer. So for example, the last one is which comes under offer, when the communication, the offer I have given the communication to you, but before the letter reach to the concerned person, I may have the right to withdraw the consent. After, once the person will receive the communication at any cost, I doesn't have right to withdraw the consent. That is the major difference. So if you have decided to withdraw the consent, try to see that let the communication not to reach to the person. Before the communication is going to reach to the person, the offerer is having right to withdraw the consent. After it has been reached to the concerned person, the offerer who doesn't have right to withdraw the consent. So for the today's class, which we have discussed about what is the meaning for definition of contract, and the contract formula is offer, acceptance, equal to agreement, should be enforceable by law, and what are the various types of contract: valid, void contract, voidable contract, express contract, implied contract, and quasi contract, and unilateral contract, and bilateral contract. And later, which we have discussed about the legal rules of offer. There are various rules and regulations which comes under offer, and last one is communication. Next class we will continue with the same communication part, and which we have discussed in the previous class. Again, in between free consent, capacity of parties, performance of contract in each and every place that we need to discuss with a lot of various case laws as well as the examples. Any queries that you can ask me in the next class during this 1 week. During tomorrow's class, try to be thorough with this part and raise your queries. Thank you.